Yeah, so absolutely excited to have Colby Acuff on the podcast today, man. How have things been going for you?
Dude, things have been going great. We're just kind of wrapping up the year, just finishing up tour, and we had a record come out last month, so everything's good
Yeah,
according to plan.
yeah, I feel that. Uh, I guess usually where I start with everybody is kind of a background into your history of music. So I usually ask, what did you grow up listening to? What were your parents playing? And then when you kind of found your own ear, so to speak, what did you kind of gravitate towards?
Well, I mean, I think I'm pretty lucky where my parents listen to good music, at least in my opinion.
Right.
But I grew up in northern Idaho, so I'm from about 2 hours south of the Canadian border. The Pacific Northwest is kind of where I call home. And in that area, there's a lot of bluegrass, a lot of folk stuff. But it's a big melting pot when it comes to music. So my dad is really big on like 50s rock and roll to 70s country and like early bluegrass, like Flat and Scruggs and that kind of deal. And then my mom was super into like the Eagles and Elton John and the Beatles and that kind of thing. And so I kind of had a big mix between 70s countries, 50s rock and roll, late 70s rock and roll, 80s rock and roll. And to me, that's kind of, about 1999 is kind of where music stops sometimes for me. Although, like, I grew up, when I got my own ear, um, I really loved like Green Day. That was, I mean, yeah, American Idiot was a huge record for me when I was a kid. So, I mean, it kind of evolves into, whatever it is. But
Yeah, it's definitely a solid mix. I feel like my mix was like 90s country. It's like all my parents listened to. Like we had like one country station in the town I grew up in, pretty small area. So one country station playing all, the stuff that you would think about when you think of 90s country. So that was like my introduction to it. I found a lot of rock and roll on my own um through school and through other means, but yeah, I think we all kind of hit a Green Day phase, hit that kind of like it was kind of required, right? Um,
yeah, just like the times that it was, like everything, it's kind of, it's not too dissimilar to how times are right now. Like, if you have Toby Keith, then you're gonna get a Green Day.
right.
Like, and I liked both. I grew up on both those artists. But there's an amazing thing. I've always gravitated towards music that lives in a counterculture.
Yep.
For me
Yeah.
personally, whatever that is. And I always feel like the counterculture is it's just such an amazing swing. When it hits, it's so palpable.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I there was a period of time I went through like early Rise Against music, which was like very,
Yeah.
Black Flag, that kind of stuff. Uh but it's would you say your music, your country music or Americana music maybe kind of fits in that space, in that counterculture space?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it depends. I mean, we got a lot of songs, and I just try to write songs. I think for if I'm not telling a story in a song, then I'm probably coming from some kind of counterculture pivot. If it's from me about my experiences and stuff, it's probably more in that vein.
Yeah.
We got a handful of songs that are definitely in that vein. Um, and I try to, I don't know, it's hard because I feel like a good counterculture movement or whatever it is, typically it's just, I understand because I always feel like I mean, I don't know if I really belong anywhere sometimes. And I feel like that's where really that art starts to be made is when you think like, oh, I'm gonna go do this exact thing. Like for me, it's like I'm gonna move to Nashville and make country music. And then you get here and it's kind of like, no, we're making country music. You are making your music.
Right.
And that can definitely cause for some counterculture stuff.
Hmm. Was that like a big adjustment for you? You made what, your first couple albums in Idaho, and then kind of the most recent ones are made in Nashville. Was that a big adjustment in terms of like musical style maybe, or even what you were trying to accomplish through your albums?
No, not really. I mean, I think moving down to Nat, I mean, there's a quote about Nashville where it's there's two kinds of people that move to Nashville: people that want to make great music and people that want to be famous. And I moved here to make good music. And when I moved here, I'm not the only person in Nashville that feels alone. There's plenty of people that, industry done them wrong. So we're kind of, oh shit,
You good?
we're all kind of, we're all in it together, trying to make waves on our own. And so actually moving down here, it had opened up a ton of other doors, to make, and to make more music, make, maybe more complicated music, or just, kind of expand the envelope for myself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Am I like I've been there now like a handful of times, I think at most, and it always like shocks me that literally it feels like everybody you run into has some tie back to the industry. It's super interesting for me. So you're on this is your sixth studio album, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to, hear just the backstory behind it, maybe kind of the overarching themes, and just kind of how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting one. I mean, I think for anybody, I'd written a record prior to this called American Son. And that record was about a very, very dark year for me. Um, it was all about grief and loss and, trying to meander my way through what that looks like. And then realizing that, other people, they need these songs just as much as I did. And, it's not like none of those songs are, song of the summer by any means. But I know that they help people. So that, that's more valuable to me than anything. But then kind of going into the next record, and I was talking to my producer, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, I was still writing kind of on the coattails of that record. So I was writing some darker stuff still. And he was like, yeah, I think you're kind of lost in the brutality of songwriting. And you used to write like funny, clever stuff, and you have some fun songs and blah, blah, blah. So like, I think we should kind of navigate that. And then I was like, well, I mean, I'm down to start that, but I just want to write an album for people, give them agency. And so he was like, well, why don't we just go talk to people? And I was like, that's not a bad idea. So we actually loaded up. We went out and we interviewed 40 people on the street, um, across 3 cities down here. We went to Asheville, Knoxville, in Johnson City. And it was just after they actually had been hit by Hurricane Helene. Just kind of happenstance that it ended up lining up that way. Um, and just the takeaways where people are resilient, amazing, strong. We're so much more similar than we are different in every aspect. And so I realized I needed to write a concept record that kind of reflect what people are telling me versus what I think.
Hmm. Yeah, kind of this yeah, you almost turn it around a little bit approach, right? Like I think a lot of times people, I don't know, like when you're listening to music, it's easy to find, connection and relation there. But yeah, to write it from a space of the people you've talked to, I think that, geez, that makes a connection even deeper, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you can't make it up in a
Mm,
Nashville writing room,
right.
right? It's like, well, a lot of people told me this is how they feel. And what's crazy is so many people answered so many of the questions exactly the same. Like there were so many similar answers, and it was all different kinds of people, I mean, it was everybody that we could find demographically. And it just really spread out in a very singular line. And so I was like, all right, well, I can definitely make 11 songs following two characters, put them in a world that we build. And the funny thing is the world that, you build in the record is just the world that we live in.
Sure.
Right? So, like,
Mhm.
there's not a lot of fantasy to it. There's a lot of reality in it, and it's fun. There's, like, definitely parts of it that, it's poking a little bit of light, into, like, the reality, because truth can hurt a little
Yeah,
too much sometimes.
sure can. Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, I mean, having listened through it, I definitely, kind of before that context, I would have assumed that it was, like you said, kind of written in a very real world um, aspect. I think my favorite song off of it is a song called "His Song." What's a man supposed to be? And for two reasons, I think like when I first heard it, I heard and maybe it was unintentional, but like this interpolation of an old country song, of a wrecker song, right? Like it definitely. I don't know if you know what song I'm talking about.
I don't actually, weirdly
There's a
enough.
record song called "Leave the Pieces," and
Okay.
if you listen to that song, like your chorus and their chorus sounds like it has that same like "It's all right, I'll be fine" kind of thing. Listen to it, you'll hear it. That's immediately what I heard, and then just the context behind it. I would love to hear more on that one.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, that was like one of the very first songs that I started for the record.
Mm,
And I had already written her song, and I hadn't named it her song yet. It just was numb to everything. And I
yeah,
was like, all right, well, I have this song that, has this really strong female character. And I had his song, I had written down in my notes just his song as a title. And I was trying to figure out how to make them play back and forth with each other.
yeah,
And I had a completely different song for his song, actually, believe it or not. It was way more country, way more like funny and
yeah,
dumb, honestly. It wasn't dumb, but it just was like silly.
yeah,
And then when I finally kind of got on the like, I had a dream the other night, and blah blah blah, and I was like, oh, but this is cool. Like we can talk about this guy's life. So I mean, I do think that the a problem with a lot of men, especially younger men, is like this never ending, like we're just always seeking this validation that we can never get. And I feel like that's a big problem amongst men. And I don't, I'm not a solution guy, but
right,
I definitely am an observation guy.
sure,
And I do feel like that's an issue. Um, and so I wrote the song essentially all about this guy being like, what the hell do you want from me? Like, who am I supposed to be? I am me. It's
yeah.
hard to be anything other than that. And so it kind of pokes a little bit of light into that. But it also is fairly, hopefully hits ground with a lot of guys.
Yeah, yeah. I think I mean, is someone who also suffers this uh, validation. I don't even know what you want to call it, dilemma, right? I think it is an interesting place where it's. I struggle personally with it in the sense of like, yeah, like why can't I just be happy with myself kind of situation, right? And I think at least the people I know in the immediate are kind of go through those same issues, right? Like you constantly need to be reaffirmed, and that's a weird place to be in. So when you're writing, maybe this album or any album, is it a super collaborative thing for you, or is it you kind of like to write alone?
It really depends. I
Yeah,
mean, there was a decent amount of co-writes on this, but a lot of that comes from, like, I don't know, I do co-writes maybe a little differently. I'll start the song or like get an idea. If I hit a roadblock, I'll call a buddy of mine, we'll get together and finish up the tune. I mean, it's hard to go into a writing room with nothing to say. Like, that's not for me. You end up with something that is not super tangible. So I like, starting with something, whether it's mine or theirs, and then, we can get something super tangible out of it. But it's just very hard for me to finish a song that I don't believe in. I start thousands of songs. I finish hundreds of songs. I put out 66 songs, right? So like there's only so many songs in my opinion that I have put pen to that, end up meaning something. And I just don't have the heart to put out stuff that doesn't mean anything.
yeah. I mean, I think that's super admirable of you. I think that's like the biggest thing for me when I started doing all this, right? Like I have no tangible experience in the music industry. Like was the amount of songs that artists still have that just sit and sit and sit and sit, right? Um, so yeah, I think it's such a funny thing, like the amount of songs. Like I often find myself wondering about the amount of like hit songs that just never got anywhere, right? That just sit.
Yeah, and somebody decided that was a good idea. And there's plenty of, I mean, I still have some good songs that I haven't released,
Yeah,
songs that I really like that maybe didn't fit a record or whatever, I mean, and that's another piece of it. It's like you want everything to be fairly cohesive. But at the end of the day, it's a good problem to have. I mean, you got a lot of songs. or you got too many good songs, I mean, that's not a bad idea,
Yeah,
you
sounds
know?
like a great problem to have actually.
Yeah.
When you're doing like production, is it more stripped back? It feels like this, I don't want to call it a fad, but like the trend nowadays in the that space is to be super stripped back, super one take, or are you kind of more particular about how it sounds at the on the back end?
I mean, I just wanna service the song, and there is something in my mind. I don't understand this giant, giant demand for just stripped back
Yeah,
stuff. Like, I understand raw and real and authentic stuff, but, like, the reality is that the way that the music industry, not just country, but, the way that the music industry has essentially become such a program of, like, okay, everything's gonna be to a grid, everything is going to be tuned and in perfect time and played perfectly and blah blah. That's why people can't tell the difference between an AI song and a song from a real artist.
yeah,
People think that AI or people think the autotune is like how people sound, right? And so
yeah,
then when you have a AI voice that's tuned pitched to 100, they can't tell the difference. That's
yeah,
not what people sound like. And you've been fed this for 30 years.
yeah. I blame T Pain for all of this.
Well, at least you know what T-Pain
Yeah,
sounds like.
yeah. I was getting
It's the other stuff.
yeah,
And so for me, it's I understand real and raw and like doing live records and we do a lot of that. But I mean, I want to service the song when it comes to production. Um, whatever that creative space is at that time.
yeah. That's something I wanted to get into. It was the AI piece, right? And like the space that it feels like it's really starting to occupy in music, and like the danger that that is like inherently bringing, right? Like it is such a wild space for me. Like when I think about it, like when I first started doing this, like it was never a question. Like I never had to super look into whether I thought an artist was real or fake when I first heard them. And now like I'm getting questions like, oh, is this person like a real person? I'm like, yeah. Like first off, I've looked. Like second off, like I it's such a weird space, right? Because like I think recently there's like a Billboard one like top hit from an AI artist,
Yeah.
and like that's like terrifying as it must be terrifying as an artist, right?
Yeah. I made a video about it last night actually. But yeah, it's the band name is Breaking Rust or the artist name, I don't know. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just like my the biggest point though about all this is, people are like, "Oh, but it's good." And I'm like, "Well, okay. I'm actually not going to say it's bad because I did listen to it and like it's got all the things that you'd want."
yeah,
But here's what people really need to start thinking about because that language is super dangerous. What they don't understand is that the AI, if you put into AI, "Hey, make me a viral song on TikTok, make it country, like make it from take the top 5 songs that people like in the last 10 years and put that into a song."
yeah,
It'll modulate to find the best vocal, it'll modulate to find the best rhythm, best time. It'll try to make, like the most meaningful lyrics it can. That's like really where it falls apart
yeah,
is in the lyric space,
sure,
but that doesn't really matter.
yeah,
I mean, it matters to me, but we know how people listen to music. Um, and so all of a sudden, it's just tailoring itself to where like it knows what you like. So you're not like when you say, "Oh, but it's good." Well, that's of course it's good.
it's like half the point, right?
It is literally made
Yeah,
by your preferences, by
yeah,
all the data that it can extrapolate all the data in 5 seconds. Like it knows who you are. I mean, I mean, and here's the other thing. I'm not really anti AI as far as like a tool. And, like I definitely think that I mean it's coming. Like it's the future. There's no and I got this whole rule for myself about being on the knife edge of the future. is it's always better to be, on the front of the knife.
Sure. Yeah.
You got to embrace the future. You can't stop the dawn. Like that's just the way it is. But we got to think about this shit. I mean, this could be detrimental. And the other thing that a big point was like people were saying, "Oh, well, yeah, but it can't play a live show." And it doesn't matter because it'll take up market space. And so for every AI song that does really well, that means that there's X amount of human songs that never get heard or seen. And so then it doesn't even matter about the ticket because that guy's screwed. He's not going to be on tour. So this is the domino effect that I see. This is the issues that I see. The other
Yeah.
problem with this is so then late last night, sorry, I'm getting on a big
You're
tangent
good.
now, but this is
It's fine.
late last night. It was like, I was like, all right, well, I got to figure out who this is. So I'm like on Google, looking it up. I'm on the internet. I'm just like scraping Reddit. And I'm like, you know what? If there's anything that can find this, it's going to be ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah.
So I go to chat and I'm like, hey, all right, let's start diving into this. I mean, and it pulled metadata from everything, from DistroKid, Spotify, like everywhere that it's being released, BMI. So like this artist, so there's a writer that is credited in the song that's not the artist. And it's my belief that that other writer is also another AI system. But that writer is established with BMI. The songs are, uploaded through DistroKid. They have ISRC codes. The thing is airtight and it's completely anonymous. There's no tracing it back. There is like a parent, essentially. It's a Deafbeat Psy, I believe is the name of like where this is all coming from, but even that's anonymous. And so, after 30, 45 minutes of me asking ChatGPT to keep pulling data and trying to figure this out, that was
Nothing.
that. Nothing. It's like completely in the wind. And then I asked it if it's possible that an AI is potentially made it, like kind of
Yeah.
orchestrated the whole thing. And
Goodness.
it said, no, it's not possible, blah, blah, blah. But like, I have no idea where this is coming from or
Yeah.
any of it.
And that makes you like, yeah, that brings up like so many other questions in its own right. Right. Like, goodness. Like, yeah, it could be, I mean, and it's weird to like put it this way, but like, it could just be a label. It could just be like the amount of things that it could be is insane. And
Yeah, label's worst case scenario.
right, yeah, 100%. Like,
If it's a label, um, if it's a label, then it's really bad.
yeah, yeah,
I think odds are 97% it's a label.
yeah. I mean, that's where my head goes, right? Because like if it's that, like you said, if it's that airtight, then why like normal person trying to do this isn't going to be that airtight about
Unless,
something.
yeah, but I mean, like, if you ran it, I mean, I know how you do it. I mean, if you ran it through, so you had ChatGPT write you a song, then you had another AI system make the song, then you had an AI agent upload everything to where it was nailed, do all the
Yeah.
paperwork. I mean, you could upload a song a day for eternity.
Wait, that was like this like the first AI artist I'd heard of was like it was strictly an instrumental. I forget the name of it at this point, honestly. But it was like it was all instrumental music, kind of like in the same vein as like Arc de Solio, like Krungbin.
Okay, yeah.
And there was like a big to do about that because like they were releasing like a song a day for like a month and they grew from like, they're at like 5 million monthly listeners at one point. Yeah, it's scary stuff, to say the least, because the point of music is to be human, right? Is to like can be able to connect. It's such a scary place. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's where, but there are other things. Like for me, this is kind of where like a app like Nugs comes into play, where, all of a sudden these live shows, I guess, are going to have more value, maybe, but
theory.
listening to live music as a consumable,
Yeah.
like through Nugs, where you can just upload your live shows and then people can just listen to it there. Like I think a lot of things like that are gonna make sense.
Yeah.
Um, I think the biggest kind of crock that I believe for this whole thing, I feel weirdly enough, I'd feel much better about it if the AI had independently made a song, released it, marketed it, and broke the system itself.
Right.
Weirdly enough,
Yeah.
I would be like, okay, look. And the reason why I know that that's not the case is because it went number one on Billboard and no one did anything about it. If the labels knew that that was happening
Just
and
shut it down in a
they weren't
second.
getting it, oh, dude, they would pass legislation in a minute
Yeah.
and get that out of there.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's still, all these AIs, bands and artists and songs are cranking out a lot of money, it leaves me to believe that it's either the DSPs, so it's either Spotify, or it is the label that's behind it, and they're sitting there cashing checks. And both, these DSPs and labels for the last 10 or 5 years, I should say, they've been hemorrhaging some money, and that's not a secret. So, like, I mean, I do believe that they're looking for a quick grab.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think you're wrong. Even in like the space I live in, right, is like um there's a lot more label run like curation, which is an odd thing as well, but it's definitely more and more and more. Um I guess kind of switching to that speed of it, do you like the social media side of things as an artist, or is it just like, man, this shit's exhausting?
Yeah, I mean, man, it's tough. It's tough because of output, and input in all reality. Like, it is hard because there is no ceiling as to, like, how much you can be. Like, oh, you just have to be putting out shit 24/7, and it all has to be high quality, and it's gotta be good, and you gotta let everybody in all the time. Well, dude, like, the hardest thing about being in music or anything is, like, it's not on all the time. It's
Yeah,
on a lot of the time, but
sure.
some days, man, it's brutal. Some days
Yeah.
I don't wanna do that.
Yeah.
So
I
but
think
I
that's just
have
being
to.
human. Yeah. Like you're not
Yeah.
on all day, every day. Like nobody is. It's not realistic.
Yeah, but now competing with, AI and whatnot, like,
Yeah.
they're on all the time,
Yeah.
and so I don't know, it's a tough spot to be. My little processor only does so much,
100%. Yeah.
and, it can be overwhelming, and I think everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not alone in that. Um, but yeah, I don't know, I mean, I like social media in general for it. A little piece that I think is good is that it's very open market.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to it. The pro is everyone gets a shot, including myself, every day. Every day is a big opportunity.
Yeah.
The con is that the market's completely saturated. There's too much music, there's too many artists, there's a lot of festivals. There's only so many spots you can
Yeah.
go around, I
Yeah.
mean, and for me, like, we outconsume a lot of people as far as, like, we have a lot more listenership than some people. Um, but because I don't have the followers, sometimes I lose slots in festivals.
Yeah. It's a weird space, isn't it? Like, it is. Yeah. Like, it is definitely, you're right. It's like I've always explained it to like people who don't understand. It's like a giant lottery ticket every time you post, right? Like it's
Yeah.
literally a goddamn lottery ticket. It's so weird.
That's what I say. That's literally what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say that exact same thing. Like, everybody in town is just holding lottery tickets,
Yeah.
and
Like,
you're just trying to find a moment
yep.
to, like, part the giant ocean so that people can look at you.
Yeah.
And really, all I want out of my career, I just want the songs to do well. I don't
Yeah.
really care about myself so much, but, like, I want the songs to do well. I want to sell tickets. I want to do this the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it is getting harder. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
the space is getting insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's harder and harder every day for like every reason that we've talked about, right? Like AI and the knife's edge that like artists live on in terms of like finances. It feels like it's like insane. Like you have to hit everything almost perfectly to be able to make like a true career out of it. And it's such a unenviable space from someone who's like on the other side of it a little bit. Like it's the stress behind that, I can't imagine.
Yeah, no, it's definitely high. And a
Right?
lot of cortisol.
Yeah.
But I think it's nothing new. I mean, you got to think of it a couple ways. Like, there's a lot of artists that feel very like delivered, and that's a good way to end up not happy. Um, I just try to, I don't know, there's good days and bad days. I try to just be pretty realistic with like, I'm a songwriter with a great band and we love to play. And at the end of the day, like that's kind of the thing.
Yep. Yeah, that matters probably the most, right? Like it has to. Because if you're not loving that piece of it, like when it gets hard, you're certainly not going to love it anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people, I don't know. And it's also interesting. Like, I do think that there's a lot of like the Disney kid effect right now, where like, at least for the last 5 years, like it seems to me that people are once again kind of more obsessed with like younger things that are coming out, younger, fresher, a little
Mm,
bit underdeveloped stuff,
yeah,
which is fine. I think that that can cause a problem later, which we've
sure.
always we've always seen that with. It's like this really crazy cycle, but like you'll have like a cycle where like a bunch of young, in their late teens blow up,
Yeah.
and then their mid to late 20s can be either great or it can be an absolute
Disaster.
disaster
Yeah.
zone. When I was coming up, most people, the number was 28. So it was like when I was 22, everyone was like, oh, well, 28's like when you want to start, that's when you want to be somewhere.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
so, like, a little ahead of the curve on mine, I probably caught the front of the Disney Kid wave.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it is just like an interesting thing, like where this industry changes really quickly now. It's like every 6 months there's a new favorite artist or sound or whatever, and that's all thanks to algorithms. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
The algorithmic overlords for sure. So
absolutely.
kind of switching gears maybe to some more fun questions I love asking at this point. If you were like, teaching a music class, you had required listening, 3 to 4 albums that you would require people to listen to just based off your specific tastes.
Yeah, I mean, number one, absolute must listen to record if you want to be a really great songwriter and play, in my opinion, really great country music is Meta Modern Sounds of Country Music by Sturgill Simpson. Number two would be Diamonds and Gasoline by Turnpike Troubadours. Number three would be Redheaded Stranger by Willie Nelson. And probably number four, it's where it gets tough. This is where I could put a lot of
Yeah.
them in.
Yeah.
I'd probably go Nashville Rebel, Waylon Jennings. And then I would do one more record and I would have people listen to Don't Mess Around with Jim Croce.
Yeah. Those are essential like country albums for sure. Like
And
especially
they're songwriters albums,
yeah,
like they're records that they were a different sound for the time and they worked with people and they were good, right? There's so much shit that works that's bad.
right.
Like there's
That's
so
fair.
much there's and not from a consumer standpoint. Everything that works that is a low-hanging fruit is not a bad thing. But don't sit there and tell me that it's like some masterpiece,
Right. Like
right?
yeah,
Like
I feel that.
yeah.
Uh, so what about, out of your entire discography, a song that you're most proud of?
Uh Probably a song called Rolling with the Wind, real deep cut off
Okay.
of Western White Pines.
Yeah.
I wrote that song just about myself and how like, this big realization of like no one's gonna come and save you. And so like whether times are good or bad, like,
You're on
you
your
know,
own. Yeah.
we're on our own vessel here.
100%. Yeah. That is a truth people feel like need to find sooner than later at times. And then usually, I live with life in music curation, so I love asking a song or a project that you've been really into recently.
Recently, that's a tough
It
one.
doesn't have to be like a new release, but just something like you've been listening to.
Yeah. Actually, I've been on a pretty big Springsteen kick, I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah,
did a big listen. We did played it up in the Northeast like a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
and I listened to all of Born to Run and all of Nebraska,
yeah.
which I really love. I mean, I remember like, dude, Springsteen, it's got such like a hard nostalgia
Mm-hmm.
hold on me.
Yep.
Like, it's just really hard for me. I love him. I love his stuff.
Yeah, I feel that.
And yeah, so I've been listening to a lot of Springsteen lately, I would say. And I've also, once again, I've been listening to a lot of Nugs,
Okay.
actually. A lot of live shows.
Yeah,
I just I just hope that that's kind of the future, honestly.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm
I
hopeful
think it
for.
would definitely solve at least part of the AI problem, at the very least. Um, and then I guess kind of wrapping up, like what can you said you talked about a tour a little bit, but what can we expect from you here in the next 6 months, year, and could people look forward to?
Well, I mean, we do a record every year, so in 26, I'm hoping to have another record, if not maybe more than that. And we're going to go on tour in 2026. I would imagine, come spring, we'll release a tour. And so make sure you go to colbyacuff.com and get those tickets whenever that happens. And you can find me anywhere where you like to follow stuff.
Love it, amazing. Well, man, I appreciate you taking time today, and yeah, can't wait to see you hear the new album and maybe catch you in my neck of the woods here.
Yeah, dude, of course. We'd love to have you out.
Yeah.